Hello, my name is Elisa and today I'll be talking about Anhedonia again. This video is the second part of the topic I was starting to cover in my previous video. So you should probably watch that one before watching this one. But yeah, today I'll be covering the topic of unearthing your true self, of rediscovering your true self despite your condition. However, instead of telling you some stories which may or may not really bore you, I'll be giving you some practical advice. Since my mother as well as other people have really urged me to do this, here's the usual disclaimer. I am no doctor, I'm no professional, I'm no therapist, I'm no psychiatrist, I'm not giving you medical advice of any kind. I'm just sharing my own experiences and conclusions. So I will not let myself be held responsible for anything at all. Ta-da! So yeah. Well, first of all, and this is not going to be easy, you need to give up on the belief that you will return to your former self, because and that isn't a bad thing, because thing is you are going to grow from having this negative experience, from having to cope with an non-existent ability to experience positive emotions. This is going to change your worldviews to some extent. It's going to change your priorities. It may even, like it did in my case, influence your hobbies, your passions, your way of presenting yourself to other people. However, again, this is not a bad thing, and you should really focus on every single way in which you have grown as a person and embrace that personal growth. I know that a lot of us tend to have very fond memories of the times in which we could still feel positive emotions, but that is the past, and we have to live in the present, and we have to work towards a better future. We cannot make an attempt at walking backwards. And this especially applies to those of you who fell ill before they reached adulthood, because if your personality hasn't fully formed yet, if you haven't formed at least most of your important opinions, if you haven't figured out your preferences, goals, ambitions, etc., you shouldn't cling to a state of only having incomplete thoughts about those things. So you are going to become an adult, and with that, regardless of whether you are ill or not, comes change. Of course, there's nothing wrong with trying to make up for lost years, though of course you should try to avoid having losing any amount of years to your illness. I've personally lost 6.5 years to it until I unearthed my new self, a better version of myself completely, until I concluded that my life was worth living again despite my illness. So you shouldn't make the same mistakes. It is also really useful to know your MBTI type, because well, again, it gives you a starting point to work with. In my case, I'm INTP, so when I figured that part out, that I was an INTP, I was able to understand myself better, to understand my reactions better, to understand my behavior better. So if you can do the same for yourself, that should also bring you a step closer to unearthing your true self. What is also really important is, well, and I did mention that in one of my previous videos, is to stop expecting positive emotions and judging experiences or evaluating them based on those. It's more important whether or not you are having positive thoughts about something, or about whether it's also more important whether you are feeling good physically, whether you are in a positive mood in response to something, compared to positive emotions of any kind. Because if you just wait for positive emotions to come to you, everything will seem meaningless, which it isn't. And you will miss out on a lot of things that might give you a sense of fulfillment, even though it's a different kind of fulfillment from what you've been used to in the past. So another way to figure out who you really are deep down, and even without your positive emotions, is to just take a closer look at what causes you to think, like what causes you to really think. If your thoughts start dwelling on a certain topic, there's a really good chance that it's actually one of your interests, or that it's actually related to one of your interests, or one of your beliefs. Now, obviously, those thoughts shouldn't be about your condition or your illness, because that is just, wallowing in self-pity and misery. It's okay if it happens from time to time. It happens to me too, but that's nothing that makes a person say, oh, it's good to be alive. So try to avoid moments like those. The same applies to people too. If a person really makes you think, question, reflect on things, chances are that they would make a good friend for you or a good mentor, and that you could use them, well, not using them in a bad way, but you could use them as some kind of mirror that reveals more about yourself, about your true self to you, about a more ideal version of yourself. So that is also always worth investigating. In addition to that, it can be really useful to find out which fictional characters you sympathize with. Now, empathy is, it's usually not going to happen, but sympathy, pity, maybe even second-hand joy, that can also tell you a lot about yourself. Because in many cases we tend to be much harder on ourselves than we would ever be on other people. So if you can see a resemblance between yourself and the character in question, and you are having kind of thoughts about that character than you are having about yourself, you should try to change that. And you even have, a tangible reason to do that, because, well, this character is very similar to you. This character has something in common with you. So why should you treat them differently from how you are treating yourself? Isn't that hypocritical? However, and this is really important, you should never apply this way of thinking to relationships, especially those you have already formed before your illness, before the beginning of your illness. And relationships you have lots of logical reasons to believe in. Now, obviously, you are not going to feel affection for your loved ones, but that shouldn't keep you from maintaining your good relationship with them, from caring about them, at least mentally, at least in your thoughts and through your actions. The same applies to animals, of course. If you have a pet, you should never neglect them for any reason, even though caring for them, even though giving them affection might feel pointless. Other than that, it's always good to know what improves your mood. So sometimes it's not even about any intellectual or creative reasons to get into something, when it comes to getting into something, than about simply the thought of, oh, this improves my mood. This makes me feel good physically. I'm not talking about any dangerous or reckless things, by the way, but it can be sports or anything like that. In my case, it's horse riding. So if in your case it's a long walk in the forest, well, yeah, you should spend your time doing that. And maybe you should also learn more about the plants, about the flowers, the mushrooms, the animals, and get really into it. Maybe even make some friends who share the same interest. In this case, I'm not very sure if I was being precise enough. So if there's anything you'd like me to clarify, do let me know. So I will make another video about this topic, about unearthing your true self. And if you would like somebody to talk to about your condition, if you'd like some personalized advice, some positivity, you can always reach out to me on Twitter. I'm including the link below as always. And I also have a question for you. You don't have to answer it, but it would give me positive thoughts if you did. So my question is, are there any topics you would like me to make a video about? Are there any coping methods that interest you, which I am familiar with? Or is there anything you'd like to know about how you could increase your chances of finding a good professional? Would you like me to make a video about how your loved ones could help you feel better instead of making you feel worse? Or, things like that. If you have anything in mind, do let me know. And don't hesitate to let me know either. As always, take care of yourselves, keep fighting, and don't forget that you're not alone. Bye bye!